Hello and welcome back to A Liv Teixeira Production. It has been a while. It has been a very long time since I've done a podcast and since I have been consistent in podcasting. And so I figured I would likely title this "Where Have I Been?" Kind of like who the fuck did I be? It's a TikTok reference if you don't get it, but nonetheless, it has been over a year now since I have been consistent in podcasting, and I feel like I've gone through all different types of stages of the podcast where I was really interview heavy, where I was really one-on-one heavy. It has evolved greatly. I feel like it's definitely been like 5 years or something crazy like that since I started the podcast. So there's been so many episodes I've done, like weekly episodes. I've done daily episodes when I was doing the 75 hard challenge. One of the challenges I also did in addition to that, which is crazy thinking back, like what was I thinking? Jesus. But I did daily episodes for a really, really long time. And although it was a lot of work, I absolutely loved it. I feel like each stage of the podcast has been unique and fulfilling in its own way. I originally started this podcast because I was in a place where I was learning so much about life in general, whether it was health and wellness focused or career focused or things to do with relationships and personal development. A lot of it surrounded personal development, but I was feeling like I learned so much in these areas that I just had to give that to other people, give it to you guys, because it was transformational for me. You know, the books that I was reading, the podcasts that I was listening to, the people that I was meeting and the conversations, and all of those things were just so profound and so like life changing to me that I felt like I had to share that. And that was like my favorite part. My favorite part was learning these things and knowing these things and then being able to share them and teach them to you guys. But then a lot of it became very much about my career, and I felt like I needed to just come on and teach constantly and share the things that I was doing with clients and share the things that I had learned through those experiences, through those like client relationships. But it started to just feel very mundane and very like repetitive and constantly just doing that. And so it felt slightly disconnected. And I feel like it came during a time where my life was feeling very disconnected. I had like made the choice to move back home. And for those that don't know, back home means Massachusetts, because I originally was born and raised in Massachusetts, then moved to California for like 4-ish years. Then I chose to move back, and I feel like I had a challenging season of life that was just difficult. It was just like one thing after the other. I had family things going on, career things. I was moving. I had financial setbacks. So it was just a lot at once. And I feel like I was sitting there kind of having to decide what my future was going to be and what my career was going to be during a time that was just like so incredibly difficult. Like for the people that do know, I really don't know how many people know, obviously the people close to me, but my dad and I had a very interesting relationship, a challenging relationship. He was someone that we grew up very, very close with. And then over the years, based on his decisions and things that had happened and unfolded, we chose to not have a relationship with him very young in our lives. And so that was an interesting thing to kind of have growing up. But when I moved back home, I had found out that he had passed and that I was kind of like in charge of handling like his belongings, which wasn't much. It wasn't like there was really nothing to it, but it was a very interesting position being put in that because he wasn't married. He didn't have a significant other at that time. And now his estranged daughter is the person that has to deal with the phone calls and the medical bills and the like just figuring all those things out. So that ended up being a bit of a long process, and it really made me think a lot about that relationship and that role and what a father is, and we'll get into that in another episode, because I think obviously I've talked a lot about my mom passing on here, more so in the years past, like not as much recently. But if you have been listening to the podcast since day one, you know that there has been that sprinkled throughout the years. And that was obviously somebody I loved very dearly and had a very close relationship with. And she was sick. And so I took care of her for a really long time, and just that side of things. But this one was a little bit different because of the relationship that I had and didn't have with my dad, both growing up and in the years past. So this one was very different, and I'd love now, it's almost been like 2 years. And so I'd love to talk more now, reflecting back on that time and what was kind of going on and kind of how I worked through those feelings and that experience of loss, but also losing somebody that you don't currently have a relationship with. So those sticky in between weird family losses, I think there's some things that I could shine light to that might help you if that's something that you've gone through. Because I know as adults we're making decisions with sometimes difficult family members about the boundaries that we want to have and the way that we want to have a relationship with that person going forward. And I learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about forgiveness and empathy through the process. So that was just one thing. I swear, I feel like this last year, 2 years has been just a lot of craziness, like back to back, never ending things, and a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges, but also a lot of lessons. And now I feel like I have a lot of clarity. So during that time, the podcast just didn't feel aligned. Even my business did not feel aligned. And so these were things that ended up kind of taking a back seat during those months and those years. And it's really made me step away and assess my purpose and my strengths and my gifts and what I'm truly here to do. Not everybody feels like they need to have this immense purpose in their career, but I do. I feel like that's something that a lot of people that listen to this podcast will resonate with. If you're the type of person that believes that, your career is something that you hold near and dear to your heart and it's very aligned with your purpose, then that's probably something that would bring you to this podcast. But I also don't want to put pressure on anyone, because it doesn't need to be. Like, your career doesn't need to be that for you if it's not. But I've realized that mine is that for me, and I have really big dreams and really big goals. And one of the biggest things that I want to do this year is just getting back to the basics of why I started this path in the beginning, why I started my business, why I started this podcast. And it was really to just share information. I remember towards the end of college and then the beginning of my professional life that I was learning information that I'm like, where was this? Like, I feel like I've struggled my whole life, and there's books out here and there's knowledge out here and there's resources out here that easily explain these different issues, whether they're life issues or family issues or career issues or literally anything. And personal development really changed my life for the better. And I feel like I'm a better human being because of it. And that is what I want to share. I want to share the things that have helped me and share the things that have helped my clients and just share the stories of people and the teachings of people and the things that people have worked their whole lives on as well. I feel like that comes from books and podcasts and interviews and all of the things. And yeah, so I'm feeling refreshed and I'm feeling ready to get back into it. Even though it does feel a bit foreign, it still feels like the right next step. And I'm glad I did take the time off to really rest from the things that I was doing and deal with other things, while also kind of reevaluating my purpose and deciding, is this the path that I want to take in life? And it 100% is. So I just want to say thank you to all the people who have listened for the past 5 or 6 years, whatever it is. They've joined me for the interviews. Maybe they've been in the interviews themselves. My daily episodes, my inconsistent episodes, which we will be doing less and less of going forward. But thank you guys for listening, and really thank you for the feedback. I feel like I have been so blessed to have a community and a friendship of people and a circle of people that are just so supportive. I have incredible friends, and even just the friends that I don't get to catch up with often, I feel like they are so positive and so supporting, and just like they are with my things, I am with theirs. But I feel like I have a great community of people that reach out and support for things like this. And I feel like you guys that are listening, you've probably been listening close to the beginning. And I can't even believe it's probably been like 5 or 6 years. But thank you for listening, and thank you for reaching out, and even just the little things of, oh, I love today's episode. That really does genuinely mean so much to me. So I'm very excited. Like I said, this is like a where have I been episode. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to coming back strong and doing interviews again and doing both small and large podcast episodes. I'm very much looking forward to being consistent again and coming back here energized and refreshed. So thank you so much. This is truly what I love doing, and I appreciate you guys giving me the space to do so. So without further ado, that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining. I can't wait to see you in the next one.